Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Buenos días.
Good morning. I'm absolutely honoured to be here today working with you, and especially because you're here on a Saturday morning when we should probably be relaxing, refreshing and getting ourselves motivated, but you're here and there's no pressure whatsoever for me, but it's lovely to be here. May I just ask, are we okay in terms of translation? Am I going too fast? Okay? Okay?
Okay.
If there's any problems, just say no or stop. Right, so just for myself, how many teachers, educators do we have in this room? Would you mind raising your hands up, please? Wonderful, thank you. Can you just keep your hands up if you're school leaders? School leaders? And lovely. And my next question is, how many of you teach the arts? Yay! There's a few. Brilliant. Okay, hands down. So, if it's okay with you, what my plan was to talk to you a bit about my school, my journey, how I managed to get the title of the Global Teacher Prize, and also I'd like to take you through some creative work which I can help, which we can do together, and then afterwards, if you are still able to bear me, if you can still put up with me and not bored too much, then perhaps we can have a question and answer session. How does that sound?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I'll start with my journey. I've been teaching in a London school for almost 13 years. I started my first practice in the same school, and I'm still there now. And my journey has been quite interesting. Where I work in London, as you can imagine, London's a very rich place. However, in all capital cities, we have got areas of deprivation, and my school sits in that area. We have, for example, 150 different languages spoken in our local community. My school is very, very diverse. And we have children who come to us at different stages of the year. So they don't all start in September when my academic year starts. They come throughout the whole year, depending on when they immigrate. So as you can imagine, this is a beautiful challenge that we are provided in our schools for all teachers. But as well as that, it's an opportunity for us to really understand what our children need. I come from an educational system which keeps us very much to account, which holds us to account. We are responsible for the progress of every single child. And unfortunately, it's not the responsibility of the minister, it's not the responsibility of the head teacher, it's the responsibility of the classroom teacher. I need to make sure that every child in my class, by the end of the year, makes progress. And that's quite a difficult challenge to do, and that's a huge, huge responsibility. So teachers in the UK, we need to make sure that we are very, very creative, that we are supported by our head teachers, but most importantly, that we find ways in which we can engage our children, because that's the most important thing. My other role, as well as teaching in my school, art and textiles, I'm also a senior leader. And my role there means that I am responsible for the teaching and learning of the school, as well as the professional development of every individual in my school, every member of staff. And that means teachers and also the colleagues who support the teaching and learning. So I have a pleasure of helping people improve their practice, as well as also being a classroom teacher, which is obviously the best part of our jobs. So you can imagine my day. It's quite extraordinary, and I try not to promote this, but I do work very long hours, as do most teachers in the school. But I think it's very important that we find ways of standing back, reflecting, and looking after ourselves. Because the biggest problem in the UK at the moment is that many of our teachers are leaving the profession because it is a very tough profession, especially when we are always constantly subject to criticism, and when we have got external pressures. So how do we do that? How do we maintain this positivity? How do we survive? The one thing I say to my teachers, especially the new teachers who join the profession, is I'm very honest with them. I say to them, you must understand, you are going to have a very difficult, very challenging experience being a teacher. It's a hard job. You will not get rewarded as often as you would do in any other big corporation. But sometimes your reward is something that's going to be absolutely tiny and life-changing. For example, when a child comes to you who has no money, who probably has not eaten, and gives you a bar of chocolate or something small and says to you, "Thank you, miss, have a great day." That's actually quite a beautiful moment. Another great moment is when you're working with a colleague and you have possibly helped them to unlock a problem which they've had in their pedagogy. And I think that's a very, helping somebody else, well, that's our job, right? That's what teachers do. We help others, we inspire others. And I think that's something that drives me forward. But I think for me, and what we must all hold on as practitioners in this room, is to remember that why are we here? What is our purpose? Why are we devoting all of our time, all of our emotions to what are we here for? And the purpose of teaching, and my belief, is that we are here to help and inspire and ensure that we are giving whatever we can do to make another individual succeed. And give them the tools, give them whatever we can to help them unlock the potential for their futures so that they can then become successful in whatever they wish to do. And we need to make sure that we have got very high expectations, that it's not good enough to settle for second best. We must need to make sure that our children are inspired to achieve. We must make sure that they aspire. And unfortunately, for some of us, and this is where it is quite challenging, in order for us to be the inspiration, we have got to be resilient. And it's tough because why should teachers be resilient? But we need to find ways in doing that. The thing that I love about my job is when, and the thing that drives me, is when I have those magic moments. And for me, the magic moments in my career are about 20% of the time. The 80% of the time is when you are sitting going, what am I doing here? I want to be, why, is this the right job for me? Surely working in a supermarket, I'd get more pleasure, I'd be more respected. Why? You're pulling your hair out and I'm looking at you, you're all nodding, which means that you're feeling the same. Yes, even the global teacher has days like that. This is normal, this is absolutely normal. But our magic moments, those 20% moments, are those things that we hold on to, which drives us, which makes us push us forward. And those are the moments when we are changing lives, where we see it in our classroom, where we see it after those 5 years of investment, whereby children come back to us and say, "Hi, miss, guess what? I'm going to be a teacher because of you." Or "I've now got a great job in this new business." Or "I'm now a doctor, I am now a solicitor." Or "I now want to do something to help other people." Those are the 20% which every single one of us will experience at some point in our careers, and we hold on to those, and that's what's going to drive us forward. Can we put up the picture, please, of the weeping woman? Is that possible? I want to share with you something about my love. And my love is, and what I've noticed is that art and subjects like the arts are so extremely powerful, and how they can change lives. Now, in my educational system in the UK, it saddens me that we are slightly behind in terms of believing that STEM subjects are the most important subjects for students to learn. I'm a leader. I believe they are very important. However, the value of the art subjects, music, drama, art, even physical education, these are the subjects which are crucial and fundamental to the success and the well-being of any human being. And this is what I'm always advocating in my school, and I know that this has made a huge difference to the progress, the educational and the academic progress of my children, as well as looking after their mental health. And just to give you an example, currently in the UK, all the 16-year-olds are undertaking their GCSE examinations, their end of high school examinations. Within the space of 3 weeks, one child is sitting 33 exams. How can they cope with that pressure? Which is another reason why we must make sure that within our curriculum, within the growth of any child and any individual, we are ensuring that we are providing opportunities for them to home in, to have access to these creative and inspiring subjects, just simply because not only does it heal them, not only does it give them a chance to step away, be creative, think about being reflective. Not only does it give them an opportunity to socialise with other children, to have good communication skills, but I think these subjects are the key for when they then go into university or beyond university and they are applying for jobs with other children or other graduates on a global scale. Because our world now has gone smaller, simply because of technology. And there are jobs out there that we have not even thought up about. Who thought, 10 years ago that there was a job for a web designer? And yet now that's what they are. They're very common jobs. And these jobs are jobs which need the creative eye, the design eye. So something to think about. This picture on the wall is a picture, I'm sure you all know, Picasso's Weeping Woman. And this particular image changed my life. When I was 5 years old and I went to a primary school, my teacher had this next to her on the wall. And I used to stare at it and it used to terrify me. I hated it. It's a horrible picture. It's green, it's chaotic, it's ugly. It reminds me, I'm not sure if you've seen it, but the Wizard of Oz, the Wicked Witch. Yeah, this is the Wicked Witch for me. Okay? So it really, it had an issue. It had an issue. When I went to secondary school, my first homework, which I had to do as a student, was to pick a piece of artwork, a portrait that inspires you or that you think you would like to write about. And so I really thought about what I could do and I wanted to be the best, But then I remembered this piece of work here and it reminded me that it caused quite a lot of emotions in me, but I wanted to find out why. So I investigated a lot about this piece of work. And what I realised was that actually Picasso was a genius. Because what he was trying to do was to create and capture movement in a piece of work. So if you have a think about this piece of work, the history behind it is that Picasso went to a funeral and he saw a lady that was crying. And she was crying uncontrollably. And the white areas there is a tissue, the handkerchief she was covering, and the stochastic movement is him trying to capture her sobbing. Now I thought that was genius, And so I use this on purpose, and I teach my children the power of art, the power of communication, and how it doesn't matter how good you are in art, producing something like this has a meaning. And my children who come to my art class, most of them come in and they're scared, they're terrified. They don't like art. And the reason why they don't like art is because in the primary schools below, the last 2 years of a student's experiences are very much academic. In the primary schools, they do more maths in the last 2 years and more English, because this is what the examinations are when they are 10 to 11 years old. So the experiences for the arts there is not as strong as it is in the lower years. So what I'm going to do, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to take you through an activity just to kind of make us relax, and I'm going to take you through what I would do in this first lesson. Now, the reality of this is that there's going to be people in this room who are terrified at drawing. Can I show those people, please? I know there's more of you. Yeah? Brilliant. Fantastic. Hands down. Okay, so this is great, because what you're going to experience is what it's like for a child to be in the classroom, but just twist it and add another moment on. Imagine if you could not speak English. Imagine if you can't speak English, and you have this woman who's in front of you talking and talking and talking and talking, and she wants you to produce a piece of work. She wants to produce a very successful piece of work, but you can't understand. Hence, the very important power of art and communication.